Christy Sanchez Trujillo.
Trujillo.
She is a social studies teacher at Jimmy Carter Middle School in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Look at Albuquerque naming a middle school after Jimmy Carter. God bless. Go forward.
She actually confided in one of her teacher friends and told her, yeah, I'm having sex with my 13-year-old student.
I want to run the video because I'm interested in getting a look at her because this is going to be entirely relevant to the story because I'm a bad man. All right, Jesus, go.
Good evening. APS fired that teacher after police say she confessed to having sex with one of her 13-year-old students.
And tonight, police hit the 33-year-old student, a teacher that is, with rape charges. Let's get right to Jessica Garate.
Well, less than 2 hours ago, Albuquerque police gave us details that ordinarily wouldn't be available until the criminal complaint is released tomorrow. Christy Sanchez Trujillo taught social studies at Jimmy Carter Middle School for the past 2 years until she was fired today. Police say the 13-year-old victim was one of her students and that the two had developed a relationship that became sexual over the past week. We asked police if the sex had taken place at school. They said it happened off campus. They also told us how they found out about it.
Miss Sanchez Trujillo confided in another teacher that she was having an inappropriate relationship with the student. That teacher thankfully came forward immediately, told police, and APS police contacted Albuquerque police.
You're the worst.
I need to be
Sanchez Trujillo's father, Chris Sanchez, is in the running to be the next Bernalillo County Sheriff. We spoke to him tonight, and he said he had no comment and then quickly hung up the phone.
You don't say.
Before teaching at Jimmy Carter, Sanchez Trujillo taught at Atrisco Elementary. She also recently taught an after-school hip-hop class. On her Facebook page, Sanchez Trujillo says she's single with 3 kids. Tonight, she's behind bars. Diane?
APS has notified staff at Jimmy Carter Middle School about what has happened.
Okay. Always with a concern with the anchors. There's been rape charges. Okay. Now, look, the thing is, this is obviously a topic we need to discuss a little further, right? So, first of all, let's all get on the record that Christy Sanchez Trujillo, Trujillo is totally hot. Okay, do you agree to that?
She's an attractive woman. I do agree to that.
Okay, so we have agreement on that note.
Based on that blurry picture, we don't know what she really looks like. But anyway, go ahead.
Now, number 2, I am going to submit to the court that that is relevant. Okay, now, that's outrageous, outrageous. First of all, the problem here is the kid's 13. That's way, 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 way too young, right? If the kid was 17, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, let her go, let her go. Fire her. As always, I'm always on the record on that. You can't be having sex with your students. Obviously, you get fired over that, right? But prison, rape, okay. Now, but it's so young, but she's so hot. You see my point?
No.
Now, look. I have no real point. I have no legal point. I concede that, Justice Kasparian, right? But nonetheless, I would like to beseech the jury on something. Beseech the jury. All right. For 99% of human history, if a woman of that attractiveness came to a 13-year-old boy who had gone past puberty, okay, and offered sexual relations to him, that would have been considered what they called back in the day FTW, for the win. Okay. Now, but now in this 1% of history, we view that as horrific, right? So, and I get why, and I get that it's illegal, and I get that 13 is way too young in the context of our times, and why that makes sense. But do you see how I'm torn a little bit on that?
You're under the assumption that this 13-year-old boy has gone through adolescence.
I mean, they culminated, I guess. I mean, I'm saying the act. I'm not saying what happened in the act. I have no idea. But they apparently had some relations, is what I'm saying. So you would think. But maybe not. Maybe you're right. I don't know. And then it's tough to say, okay, the cutoff is puberty or not. Look, since he's 13, she's got to go to jail. I get that. I'm not making that argument. It's just, I guess, the idea that she raped him, again, is something. And then, so what? She goes away for 20 years, 25 years? We're really going to put her in jail for 25 years?
Look, this is the way I measure it. And it's really difficult for society to do it because they are a lot more lenient on women when it comes to this issue. I think about what the consequences would be if the tables were turned. If it was a male teacher, regardless of how attractive he is, he would be charged with rape.
Yeah, we wouldn't even be having a conversation about whether the guy's attractive or not.
We would have no conversation about it. His attractiveness would be irrelevant. And
by the way, don't get me wrong. I know I'm crazy, but I'm not stupid. I get that her attractiveness obviously should not be relevant, okay? In a court of law, you don't go, but, Your Honor, my client is hot, okay? And so the student must have, been into it a little bit at least. You see what I'm saying, Your Honor? You see what I'm saying? No, you don't get to make a case like that. But we're having a conversation here. We're talking. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and if the tables were turned, you could make the case that a young 13-year-old girl wanted to have sex with a 30-year-old man. Right, or a 30-year-old teacher.
Yeah, I feel uncomfortable making that case.
Yeah, of course. We feel uncomfortable because for some reason we're okay with sheltering the hell out of young women or young girls. But when it comes to boys, it's like, well, good job. He wanted it. He wanted that teacher.
You're right. The double standard.
So a 13-year-old boy, hold on, let me just say. So a 13-year-old boy is able to choose whether or not he could have sex with an attractive person, but a 13-year-old girl can't. Right? You can't make those comparisons. So
look, I don't know about her. I know that I am guilty as charged. Okay? I have a double standard. We've talked about it a lot, and it's unacceptable, but nonetheless it exists. And that's what spurs this conversation. I think that on a basis of law, logic, you're going to win most of the time on this conversation. But I'm telling you what a lot of guys think, because I was a 13-year-old boy, and if Kristen Sanchez Trujillo
You're the worst.
came to me and said, hey, how you doing? I'd have definitely said back, how you doing? Okay? And then that would not, in my mind at that time, would not have been rape. Okay? Now, I might have been wrong, but that's not how I would have saw it. J.R. Jackson / Lenny Kravitz.
So which one is more important to change? The skewed idea of society or the law?
Skewed idea of society. I think. You can't have 33-year-old teachers having sex with 13-year-old students. I don't care. I don't care if it's a female. I don't care if it's a male. I don't care.
I agree with you.
I don't care if the student.
I agree with you. But look. That's clear. 13 is way too young, so we're not having that conversation. Do you think she goes away for rape for 20, 25 years?
No, that's ridiculous. 20, 25 years is
But
ridiculous.
if it's a guy, we wouldn't think that's ridiculous at all.
Well, even for a guy, if it was consensual between the 13-year-old girl and the 30-year-old teacher, all right, he shouldn't be put away for 25 years. Neither should the teacher if she's a female, okay? It's just not right. As long as there's solid proof and evidence that it was, in fact, consensual.
So you're considering statutory rape to be different than, non-consenting rape?
Yes.
Okay. And you think that they should have different...
Yes,
that they should both be punished, but be punished
differently.
For different...
Yes, because...
That's a fair argument.
Because raping someone or having sex with someone against their will is completely different from having sex with someone who is consenting to it. I know that society thinks 13-year-olds aren't old enough to make that decision, and you know what? That's a very, very good argument, but it's still very different. There's violent rape, there's consensual rape, sex.
Sex, right. Okay, so, TYT poll on this, because I'm really curious as to what you guys think on this. I really am. So I wonder, what do most people think? Should she get as much time as a guy who did the same thing? So if it was a 33-year-old guy with a 13-year-old girl, people are going to want to throw the book at him, right? I don't know how long you want him to get, but should she get the same amount of time as him? Now, you got to almost answer yes to that, but somehow I can't answer yes to that. So I'm curious as to what people think out there.
Okay.
So let's ask that. That's our TYT poll today, and looking forward to your answers on it.